In today's Farm Report, the USDA has made some adjustments to its previous forecast from last month, taking away some significant crop production numbers. Rod Bain with the U.S. Department of Agriculture has more.
More information to work with this month. Besides the usual data sets such as objective yield surveys and farmer reports for USDA's October crop production reports, the National Agricultural Statistics Service received Farm Service Agency certified acreage planting numbers to add to the mix. The result was NASS
revised some of their estimates for some of their planted acreage.
According to USDA Chief Economist Rob Johansson.
Corn planted acres was revised downwards by about 500,000 acres. Soybean planted acres was revised down by about 1 million acres, and that's 0.6% and 1.3% respectively.
And Johansson says those adjustments factor into the October crop production forecast. USDA reports corn and soybean production is expected to be down about 1% from the previous month. However,
our yield is going up a little bit on both corn and soybeans.
Even with the adjustments, this year's corn crop is expected to be the third highest production total on record, while the 2015 soybean crop will be the second largest crop on record. As for other crops,
wheat, U.S. domestic production down slightly.
Cotton production estimates nationally were down less than 1% from the previous month and 18% lower than a year ago. However,
we still have record production occurring in some states such as Arkansas, Kansas, and Tennessee.
Taking a look at production of smaller crops,
peanut acres and peanut yields are both up this year. Overall, we're looking at a 6.3 billion pound harvest. That's about 22% higher than last year, third highest yield on record. Sorghum came down a tad on acres. We do have a record yield though. Kansas and Texas produce 73% of the sorghum in the United States. We're up 33% year over year for sorghum.
And also of note,
other hay, we're expecting record production. Alfalfa hay up as well, good yields there. We're looking at 63.2 million tons for alfalfa hay and about 79.2 million tons for other hay. We got record sugar beet production.
The October report was also highlighted by the first production forecast for Florida oranges. Yet Johansson points out that all orange production in Florida is down 17% from last year, due mainly to the impacts of citrus greening. And in turn for the U.S. orange crop as a whole,
the orange crop is down pretty significantly, down to 5.8 million tons.
Or put another way, that would be the lowest total U.S. orange production since the 1967-68 crop year. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. Temperature extremes in the Midwest, with the thermometer going from record high temperatures in some locales this past weekend to perhaps the first widespread freeze event of the fall this coming weekend.
We are looking at a pretty sharp cold front coming through later this week, and that will usher in by far the season's coldest air.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says freeze events in the Midwest usually occur sooner in the month than this.
As we head into this weekend, we will expect temperatures well down into the 20s across the upper Midwest. I wouldn't be surprised to see some upper teens, and most of the remainder of the Midwest should experience a season-ending freeze as we move on into Saturday and Sunday morning.
Rippey adds that the frosty weather will also shift into the Northeast, giving that region its first freeze event around Sunday and Monday.
So it's pretty much on schedule or even later than normal, but we do have our first notable freeze expected for the Midwest and Northeast.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Crop insurance at the federal level may be run by a federal agency, in this case the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but as Rod Bain with the USDA reports, the USDA does local, regional, and state outreach to help get the information out to producers.
So you are an ag producer, a farmer, rancher, dairy grower, orchard owner. When you think of the term risk management as it applies to your operation, what comes to mind? Perhaps one of the first things is crop insurance, and you may connect that with your local crop insurance agent. But on the local, perhaps regional level, there is also the USDA agency that oversees the federal crop insurance program.
There's 10 regional offices that serve RMA throughout the nation.
Jeff Yasui is the regional director for one of those 10 regional risk management agency offices. Specifically, he's located in Davis, California, and his region covers 5 western states, including Hawaii. While RMA on the national level develops the programs and policies that producers purchase through their crop insurance agents, Yasui says RMA regionally also is involved in outreach.
We will talk to farm bureaus. We will talk to grower groups. A good example of where we did add a program was in Nevada, where we were working with the Farm Service Agency and grower groups, and they identified that there's going to be a new dry milk facility, and growers are going to start growing more corn in that area. Well, based on that information, doing various investigations and research, we determined, yes, we should expand a corn program into those areas to fit those needs. So coordination amongst all agencies and stakeholders resulted in expanding a program and increasing program participation in some areas.
You heard Yasui talk about RMA working with local Farm Service Agency offices. Many of the risk management agency offices are located inside USDA state or regional service centers, and this allows for greater communication and coordination between RMA, its sister agencies, and stakeholders when it comes to customer service.
As a result of our close proximity with each other, the state leaders for all the agencies are able to coordinate efforts. We also work with other agencies to provide extensive outreach to farmers.
A recent example of this coordinated effort was targeted for producers impacted by recent wildfires in northern and central California, as RMA joined sister agencies to create information areas to meet growers and provide needed information.
The close proximity enabled us to make sure that we coordinated our efforts and knew of each other's programs and would go out there to provide the outreach to the growers to address any disaster needs. In this case, it was a wildfire.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C. World corn production estimates were again lowered by USDA in October, reflecting a year-over-year forecasted decline from the record set in the 2014-15 marketing year.
We had some good-sized declines in the Ukraine and South Africa, so Ukraine down 2 million metric tons.
World Agricultural Outlook Board Chair Seth Meyer says also lowered this month was global ending stocks, but he adds,
China has over 90 million metric tons of those overall stocks. They're actually up slightly year over year. So in terms of stocks outside of China, they're tightening up even more than the world total would suggest. Still good levels of stocks, but some tightening year over year.
The U.S. supply and demand balance sheet for October saw little change in production, but a 0.3% increase in yield from the previous month.
So production, not much changed, down 30 million bushels. We took that all out of stocks. We still think our export number of 1850 for the moment is a solid number. We did increase price 5 cents to a midpoint price of $3.80.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.